Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This will be my first official YouTube video. It's with regards to the Pit Boss Kamado, the K24 version, purchased from Costco. This one was purchased in Ontario, Canada. A ton of videos about modifications on the Pit Boss, but I did a couple things that were a little bit different. I hadn't seen those before, and I figured that I should share them with the YouTube community in order to try to make these things run a little better. The modifications I made seem to have worked perfectly, and yeah, let's get into it. So we will start at the top. So first of all, this is a replacement cap on my Kamado. It is the same, but this one was purchased on Amazon. It's about 65 bucks. The reason I replaced it was because, and we'll get it nice and tight here, I noticed with my original lid, I had some venting issues out the side here and over here. Now what had happened was, my lid was warped, and what I believe it was from is in the original there's screw holes on the sides to hold the cap down, and I believe I over tightened these screw holes, these bolts, causing a bend in the cap slightly, which allowed air to escape. So sometimes I would, trying to do low and slow, I would have to close this thing off completely and it would still draft, which obviously wasn't acceptable, and couldn't keep my temperatures down. So I replaced it. That being said, if you have the original and you haven't screwed it up like I did, you can probably go ahead and just use the original cap. I double gasketed inside of the cap, much like most videos on YouTube. I put a layer of Nomex gasket around the Kamado itself, and then I actually stuck the second layer. The sticky side sticks to the cap itself, running all the way around, and then when the two are pushed together, as it slide it down, it fits nice and tight. There's no issues with it coming off. I have no air leaks any longer, and everything seems to be working great. Next, I replaced the gasket with a Nomex gasket. I think this one's 3/8 thick, or it might be a quarter, but it's a pretty thick Nomex gasket. I think it was made by Only Fire. I replaced it because my other one was burnt up due to air leaks again. This one doesn't seem to be burning because there's no leaking of the air. I offset my, where we go here, I offset my joints where the Nomex connects on the ends. That way I have no air leaks, because it's not both connecting at the back. So I have no air leak issues with my Nomex gasket. The next thing I did, because a lot of people have issues with their hinge, get under here, I replaced the stock bolts with ones that are about 3/4 inch longer. So you can see I have a lot more length to those bolts as well, and I'll come around again to the inside. You can see the bolts on the hinge down there. They're quite a bit longer. And these were the ones that were the problem. So a lot of people said these ones loosened off, causing the hinge to kind of fit poorly. So I lengthened the bolts and I double nutted them. So you can see there's two nuts. There's a standard nut and then there's like a Teflon nut over top. And these nuts, what this allows it to do is they tighten together, allowing me to leave the hinge a little bit loose so I have good play and good sealing of the lid. But the bolts never loosen on me. They don't come apart because they're tightened together. If that makes sense. They're stainless steel bolts. Okay, and my last thing, this is what I hadn't seen anyone do as of yet, is I removed the entire vent cover. It was sealed here and here, on the top and the bottom, with Nomex gasket or some type of gasket. Was not working at all. It was very poor air seal. Also, my doors were loose, and I felt that there was probably air being sucked in through the doors. So what I did is I took these bolts off. This whole thing came off really super easy. I then took it into my garage, and I hammered the edges of this and the edges of this rail down so they fit tighter. It's not super pretty. You can see there's some bows because it's obviously you're trying to bend stainless and you're trying to bend around a rounded piece of metal uniformly, but it's not going to happen. Somebody might have a better option than how I did it, but this is what I did. So now my doors, as you can see, quite tight. A lot tighter than they were. I have no issues. I didn't use the felt behind the doors or anything like that because I was able to bend these tight enough. Putting the felt behind the door seems to work for people, but I just went ahead and bent the metal instead. Next, I bought a black high heat silicone. You can see I used red first, which I ended up not liking the look of, so I took most of it off. I still got some cleanup, but I black high heat siliconed all my edges of this vent cover, top and bottom. I had about a 1/4 inch gap here and here, just due to how it bowed. I put a little bit in behind the screws and the edges of the plates here so that it made a nice super tight seal, and I now have no air leaks. So since doing this, I have been able to maintain whatever temperature I'm looking for. So right now I'm running it through a little less than 300. I have my top vent open almost halfway to the one, maybe a third of the way in the first notch, and my bottom is open 5 dots. And I've been sitting here for quite a long time. I'm doing a little bit of pulled pork today, trying to get it done quickly. Yeah, so I think that's it for the modifications. I've had no issues. I can shut this thing down to like 100 degrees in about 2 hours from whatever temperature I'm at, other than the residual heat of the clay. It shuts down immediately. I think my coals are completely extinguished within 15-20 minutes because of how airtight it is. You don't realize how important it being airtight is until it is airtight, and it is so much easier to control. I used to use a DigiQ temperature controller for every cook. Now I'm only using it for the real long ones overnight when I think I'm going to have an issue. No issues at all with regards to temperature control, keeping it low and slow. So I hope this video helped people and was informative. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to post them. Again, it's my first video, so go easy on me. Hopefully this video is helpful. Thanks for watching.